Watchmen number one introduced us to a pretty grim world, and in issue two, we're getting darker. So we're gonna start issue two, where we pick up basically exactly where issue one left off, or it's a couple days later. We are now at Edward Blake, the comedian's funeral, and so we get pretty much his entire like former superhero team in attendance. Ozymandias is there. Rorschach is there lurking in the shadows. Dr. Manhattan is there. Uh, Dan Dryberg, the second Night Owl, is there. The only member of this super team, the Crime Busters, that's missing is Laurie Jupiter. And Laurie Jupiter, who is Silk Spectre, has wants no parts of the comedian's funeral. Instead, she opts to visit her mother, Sally Jupiter. And we basically see that their relationship is sort of estranged, and we learn why. So in this issue, I should say like there's trigger warnings. I guess I'll put one on the screen. But anyway, in this issue, we really get to see the disconnect between Laurie Jupiter and her mother, Sally. I should note, Laurie does not like being called Jupiter. She wants to use her full Polish name, which is Jaspecic. Hopefully, I'm saying that right. But we see the disconnect in their ideals, where the original Silk Spectre sort of thrived on the attention that being a superhero got her. She loved the objectification. She loved the fan letters that she would receive and the sort of catcalling treatment. She sort of used her status as a superhero to parlay into a career in modeling and all the things. So all of the like sort of objectification of superhero females that we've seen in comics like forever, especially in the 90s, Sally Jupiter loved it all, right? And there's a big disconnect between herself and her daughter, who hates that sort of attention, especially given the fact that it came at quite the cost. And we learn through flashbacks that the deceased, the comedian, actually assaulted Laurie Jupiter, or excuse me, Sally Jupiter, on the day that their superhero team was formed. Like literally the day they get together to take their great picture, uh, he basically tries to use like this excuse that she's dressed scantily to say that she wanted sexual attention. And things get ugly, and he's like, I mean, he assaults her, and it only stops when things are broken up by, I want to say, Hooded Justice. Hooded Justice is the one who breaks it up. And yeah, I told you issue one was dark. Issue two is darker. That's the darkness in issue two. And so we're learning more about the comedian and all his sort of indiscretions. We see, you know, that he kind of decides to do his own thing fairly early on. And he's just out of control. Like he sees the world as something to conquer. He does not have value for human life or human decency. We even see him like during the Vietnam War, the crime busters are sent to sort of quell riots and stuff like that, right? And basically the comedian like has his way with he's basically has this relationship and decides to kind of walk out on her, and as he learns that she's pregnant, he's like, that's not my problem, and then basically unalives this pregnant woman who's carrying his child. And we also get a glimpse of the fact that Dr. Manhattan was there, and while he protests and was like, yo, like you're tripping to the comedian points out like, well, you could have stopped this at any time and you didn't. So maybe you're a monster too, right? Or maybe I'm not the monster here. And, we also get scenes of like the day that led to the Keene Act being passed, just like the riots and the comedian being out of control and the general public turning on the idea of these superheroes. And basically that's basically all we get in this book. We get more of a wider aperture on the state of things. And again, it's dark and grim until we get to the B side. So, just like in chapter one, chapter two does end with another excerpt from Hollis Mason's memoir, Under the Hood. So, we get chapters three and four, and it details his early exploits. It details the formation of the first super team, the Minutemen, which they were founded in 1939, and they were active for about 10 years. And he talks about some of the things that happened leading up to their sort of fall or disbanding in 1949. Um, and, some notable things: there was a female member of the team. Her name was Silhouette. She was kicked off the team because of public sentiments after it was discovered that she was a lesbian and was living in a lesbian relationship. Right. So, like, there's all these different things. Like, we get these clues as to how society works, right? Things that may be considered problematic to include in a book today. Definitely would be problematic to include in a book today, but they're here in this world. And overall, my thoughts on issue two of Watchmen are kind of the same as my thoughts on issue one. Like, this book, whereas in issue one, I'm like, yo, this is dark. Why is everybody sad? In issue two, the book feels almost mean spirited. Like, why is everyone like suck as a person? Right? Like, that's wild. I should also note that in issue two, Rorschach does confront a former uh, supervillain, Edgar Jacoby, or Moloch. So he confronts him and thinking like maybe he has something to do with Edward Blake's murder. It's just important to know that Rorschach is still out there investigating this crime. But yeah, like, this world is dark and grim. And again, in issue two, we're thrust deeper into darkness. And like I said, it feels like mean spirited. Like, yo, why is why is the world so bad? Um, and I have to kind of remind myself that, like, this was like, comics for a mature audience or an adult audience before anyone ever thought to make comics for like a real adult mature audience. I'm not talking about like just horror comics or like, sexually suggestive comics, but like comics that make you think and maybe reflect the real world around you. Honestly, as I'm in issue two, I'm like, I want no parts of this world. But I do still kind of want to see the story through. Um, but man, is it dark. And like I said, it feels like just trauma for the sake of trauma, um, with very little redemptive quality. And if that's the case, I can see why the criticisms that are leveled against Alan Moore way after the fact are so strong, right? And I don't want to comment on like the meta narrative or anything outside of the content of the book until I finish the book. But yeah, just as a reaction to issue two, this book just doesn't feel great. Like, why do people love reading this? Why people read this and were like, yeah, I gotta see what happens next. And that's not the way I feel about issue two of Watchmen. But again, great art, great line work, great like technical details. We get like the end is nigh dude all over the place. Like, we get, again, really good like just framing devices, the 9-panel grid, um the sequence where Laurie is assaulted, like, like seeing Hooded Justice kind of take over and save the day, and then the way he treats or Sally Jupiter after the fact is like, yikes. And then we're even getting like, commentary. We see like glimpses of the newspaper, and we're starting to see like how people feel about each of these superheroes. And that's intriguing. But all in all, man, this is a dark world that this book inhabits, and I'm not excited about it. So, anyway, those are my thoughts on issue two of Watchmen. If you missed my thoughts on issue one, I'll link them up in the card, and make sure you're subscribed to hear my thoughts on issue three. I'll see you guys in another one soon. Peace.